So I got some DMs today from people who saw the podcast we released with Jordan Campbell, and people said, what were those books that were sitting there? We haven't seen some of those before. I have a lot of books I've collected over like 20 years of filmmaking, and when they're irrelevant, I give them away. So the ones that are here matter. They're ones that I keep going back to that are kind of timeless, evergreen stuff. So I was just going to go through them super quick, give my quick review on it, and then there might be some in there that are helpful for you. So I'm just gonna get into it. Writing, directing, and producing documentary films and videos. This is a kind of a classic book, but it's kind of your basics. You're never probably gonna find anything in here that's not relevant. Very basic, evergreen content. Very boring read, but it's good. And I'll come back to that every once in a while if I'm kind of looking through stuff. Here's a new book, The Rise of the Filmtrepreneur. This is a decent book. He's really thinking ahead. He's entrepreneurial. He's kind of thinking about film, kind of outside the traditional distribution. How do you build audiences? It's just a good one to pick up. Probably can pick up most of it off YouTube. He's got a good kind of community built around that book, but it might be worth checking out. I bought it because I thought it might be interesting. This one is kind of, if you were a Christian, you'd have a Bible. If you're a filmmaker, I think we all know this book. Story. I used to take a lot of courses before like online learning was a big deal. So I would fly out to LA once or twice a year and take classes. I took this guy's class. This is a book that I'm still reading because I can't get my head around all of it yet. As I make more films and I encounter different situations in documentary, I'm learning to apply some of the things like structure and style and principles and all those different things that kind of help shape the story. So this one I come back to sometimes if I'm on a big road trip. I'll throw it on an audiobook and listen to it. It's pretty good. I mean, it's worth picking up a used copy if you haven't, checking it out. All right, so this is a classic. I found this a couple years ago, read it with a couple friends. If you're ever having to pitch a project, whether it's to a client, an investor, a collaborator, a nonprofit, somebody, pitch anything. This is the most kind of sharky book in the collection here. I'll learn from anybody. And so this is one of those books that kind of an innovative method for presenting, persuading, and winning a deal. He talks mostly in real estate, but what I found was it really helped me collect my words, structure my pitches, and keep them really tight. So when I would walk into a room that I was intimidated, it gave me some structure to kind of be able to deliver what I needed to say in a way that helped people understand it better. So one of the things was, just a quick tip out of that book was, when he walks into a room, he lets people know, I'm going to talk for 15 minutes, and this is what I'm going to tell you in my presentation, and then I'll be done. And that kind of gives everybody a chance to know how long they're going to be there, especially when you're talking about people with money that are going to invest in your film. That's a super good thing to be able to tell people because they're busy. They may not want to listen to the pitch if it's not any good. And then he also set some hooks. It's really based in story, but that's one that in the last few years I've just kind of attached to, and I'll go back to if I need to find out something for a pitch, or I just need to refine that if I haven't been talking to people I need to build a film with. The next one on the business side is, this one's been around for 20 years too, The Art of the Start. Page 69 of this book is the key. Part of our film course that we're building at docfilmschool.com, we talk about some of that in the webinar. If you haven't listened to the webinar, go check it out. It's free, all that stuff. But the principles of building a pitch deck, I took from this book, and then I built those around film. So my pitch decks were always built as a business plan, not as they're always been a business plan, not a creative deck. The people that I'm showing those business plans to typically want different information. That book is a good start until the course comes out. The last three, From Real to Deal, this book was written by a guy named Dove Simmons, and this guy is a trip. I don't know if he's still online doing stuff, but he is the most entertaining guy ever. Most people don't know that How I actually first got introduced to film was I got a flyer in the mail. Like, I have no idea how he found me or any of that stuff. And it said 2-day film course in Denver. And I was working for Young Life, had this Young Life leader. And I said, let's just go do this. It's $200. We went up to Denver and we sat down with our pen and paper. And this guy blew my mind. Not only did he know film, but he was an incredible educator. And I ended up buying his book, and I still have it today, not for nostalgic reasons, but there's a lot in here that I still write notes in this book that kind of keep me on track. This is great for script writing, for story, for understanding timing, understanding budgeting. If you can find an old copy of this, it's well worth it. The last three, The Hidden Tools of Comedy, even in documentary, I'm constantly looking for ways to use humor to lighten up a tough subject. And this book by Stephen Kaplan, this guy was really big in Hollywood for the last couple decades as far as being able to take films and look at comedy in a new way. And this guy, that's a great book. I took his class in LA too. Killer book, really based on story, and it totally applies to documentary. Last two books, In the Blink of an Eye. This book, if you're an editor, this is a classic. I'm sure most of you guys already have that, but that one is just great. The bottom line of that is that whenever you're cutting, cut on the blink. When the person's eyes close is when the brain triggers to be able to know that something's, that you can actually cut. And the last one, I've seen a lot of people that are moving towards being DPs or cameramen, and that job's great. But if you want to move into bigger jobs that require, moving from being a 2-person team to working on a camera team of 5 or working on sets and things like that, The Camera Assistant. This is a book that is a must-have for anybody who's going into the camera department or wants to be a cinematographer. This has a lot of old stuff in it, but this is the classic information. This is the Bible for cameramen. There's just all kinds of tricks and tips that kind of set you apart as a DP. If you're thinking about becoming a camera operator, or you want to be a DP and you want to kind of set up your professional game to the next level, I'd buy this book. It's out of print. You can't find it anymore, but this one will set you apart. That one is a good one. It's $50. I'm not gonna lie. It's an investment, but that's one that you'll have for your career. So those are the books that are kind of sitting around my office, and I'm constantly learning. I'll learn from anybody, and I'd love to learn from you guys. If you have any books or podcasts or any of that stuff that would be helpful for kind of learning this stuff, put it in the comments. It'd be great. And I guess the whole like and subscribe thing, if this stuff is useful, click a thumbs up and those things. All right. Have a great day.